Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine from SCB Housing, and tonight I'm going to run the lottery for the 10 affordable rental units at the residences at Hyannis Harbor. So we'll get the lottery underway in just a few minutes. If you have any questions during this session, you can go ahead and type them into the Zoom chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question. You're just muted when you came into the room just to minimize any outside noise. So this meeting is being recorded. It will be posted to SCB Housing's YouTube channel for anyone who was not able to attend tonight that wants to view it. And first, I just want to give you some background information on the lottery, how many applications were received. All of this information is going to be coming to you in an email tomorrow, along with the waiting lists from this lottery. So you don't need to be present during the lottery to be a part of it. So everyone who is approved for this lottery should already have a lottery application number, and that's the number that was emailed to you in the form of A.001, for example. And in this case, the numbers go from A.001 up through A.123. So if you don't have that number or if you forgot it, let me know. That is the number that's going to be drawn tonight in the lottery because in order for the drawing to be anonymous, we're not going to be calling names. So for these 10 total affordable units, there were 118 completed applications. So there's going to be 118 households in this lottery. The numbers go up to 123 because we needed to remove some duplicates, and there were a couple of applicants who wanted to be removed from the lottery. So for the 6 one-bedroom apartments, there were 60 applicants. One of those one bedrooms has disabled accessible features, so there were 4 applicants who reported needing the features of that accessible unit. Those 4 applicants will have priority for that unit, and there's a separate waiting list for the disabled accessible one bedroom. There's also 3 affordable 2-bedroom apartments. There were 66 applications for that. Actually, I think there were 67 applications for that, and 46 of the applicants are type 1 or type 2 households, which will have the same priority on the waiting list. And then there were 20 type 1 households, which will have the lower priority on the 2-bedroom waiting list. There was also 1 3-bedroom apartment, and there was 34 applicants. 25 of those applicants were type 3 households, 6 were type 2 households, and 3 were type 1 households. So back when you completed your application, you indicated, and then SCB Housing confirmed your household type, either 1, 2, or 3. So keep in mind that for the 2-bedroom and the 3-bedroom waiting list, the larger type 2 or 3 households will have priority over the smaller households on that waiting list. And that's because the affordable housing program is designed so that households don't have priority for units with more bedrooms than the family actually requires. So on the I think it's page 11 of the information packet, there is the waiting list, and it shows you kind of the order of priority, which I'll show you in just a minute on my screen. There's also local priority or local preference for several of the affordable units. So if you answered yes to local preference, the local preference question on the lottery application, you received a lottery eligibility email that confirmed that you were going to be part of the local preference drawing. So when the drawings take place later on tonight, you're not going to know for certain where your household is situated on the waiting list just yet, because I have to take all of those preferences into consideration when we are sorting the results from tonight's lottery drawing. So there's going to be 2 drawings tonight. I'm going to be using the website random.org to complete the drawing. So first, I'll be doing a local preference drawing, and that's going to include the 42 households who indicated that they either live in Barnstable full-time, work in the town full-time, or have children that go to Barnstable Public Schools. So I'll insert the application numbers for those 42 households into the list randomizer function in the random.org website, which I'll show you in a few minutes on the screen as well. And the website will digitally generate a random order. So we're doing it this way to try to keep the results as truly random as possible. And after that local preference drawing, I will insert the application numbers for all 118 lottery households into the same feature on this website. And the function will again digitally generate an order. So the randomization during this drawing is instantaneous. So you'll see the drawing results right away on the screen. And I'm going to screen share right now just to go to this website so you can see what it's going to look like. So random.org, it's a very basic looking website. I'm going to share my screen now so you can see it. So right now you should just see Google. I'm going to random.org. And this is the website. So random.org, if I scroll down and I go to list randomizer, just for demonstration purposes, this isn't the lottery drawing yet, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to type in numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I do the actual drawing, you're going to see that the numbers are in the form that you are familiar with. So A.001, for example, and it goes up from there. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just typing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to click randomize, and then it sorts the numbers into a random order. So in this case, number 2 was first, number 1 was second, and so on. So that's how the lottery drawing is going to take place. When you see the results tonight, like I mentioned, the drawing is not the order of the waiting list. I still need to sort the results onto the waiting list. So you're not going to know until tomorrow morning when I send out the email with the copies of the waiting list, that you're not going to know exactly where your household stands on that list. And then I also said that I wanted to show you the order of priority of the waiting list. So this is page 11 of the information packet, and this is what I mean when I'm talking about type 2 and type 3 households will have higher priority than type 1 households. So if you applied for a 2-bedroom apartment and you're a type 2 or type 3 household that has local preference for this waiting list, you'll have top priority. And it kind of goes on from there for all of these. If you're a 1-person household, for the 1-bedroom apartments, you're going to have high priority because everyone gets the same priority for the 1-bedrooms. It's just for the larger units where your household type comes into consideration. And as you can see from here, some of the waiting lists have local preference considered and some of them do not. Okay, so just a question here. You received a reference number when you applied? Yep, so the reference number that you got was the email that was automatically sent when you applied online. So you should have received an email from info@SEB Housing or no reply at SEB Housing later on when your application was actually reviewed. And that should be a separate email that has the lottery number. If you didn't receive that, if you could either send me a private message with your full name or email address, or email info@sebhousing.com, and I'll make sure to get you that after the call tonight. I will look that up for you. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen just for another few minutes, and then I will do the drawings. But just want to give you a few more pieces of information before I do the drawing. So basically, the lottery drawings tonight, the order that's generated by random.org allows us to properly sort the results onto the waiting list. And, it's an order of priority for the waiting list. So after the lottery, an email is going to be sent to everybody with information on next steps. It's going to have the waiting list attached to it. And that will come tomorrow morning to the email address that you either applied with or that you wrote on your paper application if you did not apply online. So once you see the waiting list, you're going to find your lottery application number on the waiting list. It might be on more than one waiting list if you applied for more than one apartment size. So if you applied for both a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, you're going to have a placement on both of those waiting lists. And I should mention too that if you applied for a 2-bedroom, for example, you're going to have a placement on both 2-bedroom waiting lists, the 2-bedroom local preference waiting list and the 2-bedroom open or general non-local waiting list. even if you don't have local preference. So I know that that's sometimes confusing for people, but regardless of whether or not you have local preference, if you applied for that household type, that household size, so the apartment size of either a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, you're going to be on the waiting list that says that it's local preference. But if you don't have local preference, you'll just have a position further down the waiting list. All right, what else did I want to mention? So when you get the waiting list, you're going to see that there are a few households that are highlighted in green. So a few lottery application numbers will be highlighted in green. And that's just signifying that those households are going to be immediately invited to move forward in the process to complete a lease application with the leasing office. So if you're one of the top households on one of the waiting lists, you're going to be moving forward in the process right away. And your contact information will be shared with the leasing office after today, and you'll be put in touch with them to schedule a time to complete your lease screening. If you're not one of the top households on the waiting list, then you're not going to be moving forward right away. If households ahead of you on the waiting list drop off because they're either not eligible once we start doing the screenings, or they're no longer interested in renting one of the apartments, we may make it to your position on the waiting list and call you forward as well. And if you are eventually found lease eligible by the leasing office, you're going to have the first chance to select and reserve an apartment. So if you're the first person on the 2-bedroom waiting list, for example, and the leasing office approves your lease application, you can select from any of the 1-bedroom affordable homes. So you'll reserve one of the homes and you'll be referred back to SCB Housing to submit all of your income information, income, asset, and tax information. Because remember, when you applied for the lottery, you only self-reported your income by filling out, what your total income was, what your assets were, and all of that. But we haven't yet gathered pay stubs from you or benefit statements or anything to confirm or to verify your income. So after you do the lease screening and reserve your unit, you'll be coming back to SCB Housing to do that program eligibility screening. And that's the point where you would be requesting, a certain number of pay stubs from you, your tax returns, bank statements, that sort of thing. And we'll work with everyone. There's a lot of information that needs to come in when we're doing the program screening. So if you don't send everything in on the first try, that's totally fine. We'll work with you to make sure we get a completed application. We have been told that the first affordable units at Hyannis Harbor will be available in the spring. So once both your program and lease screenings are complete, there shouldn't be much of a wait for move-ins or lease signings. And then just one extra thing here, one final thing before the lottery drawing. I like to remind everyone that if you move into an apartment, an affordable apartment, you are going to have a recertification each year. So if you signed a lease, for June 1st, for example, around this time or even earlier in 2027, you're going to be asked to complete your lease renewal, which part of that will be doing your recertification. So you want to just make sure that you maintain your records so you know where you can get your pay stubs online, or if you have paper pay stubs, so you'd be able to verify your income with the leasing office over at Hyannis Harbor when the time comes for your lease renewal. All right, so I think I have one message here just to respond to privately before I do the drawing. So does anyone have any questions on what I just mentioned? Like I said, all of that is going to be, all the information I just gave you, how many applicants, what the next steps are, all of that is going to be coming to you in an email, an attachment tomorrow. Yep, and I do have your lottery application number, so I'm just typing that over to you now. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to run the drawing. two drawings actually, right? The local preference drawing and just the general drawing. So I'm going to share my screen again in just a second. I have a spreadsheet that I'm going to be plugging the results into. That'll be a little bit easier for you to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the drawing. You'll see it on your screen. And when the results pop up, I'm going to copy and paste them onto an Excel spreadsheet here so you'll be able to view it a little bit better. I'll scroll down so you can see all of the results. And then if you didn't see your lottery application number, I will find it for you. You can just send me the number in the chat there, and I will look it up for you. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. Oops. All right, so I'm sharing the screen again. You should see random.org. This is the main website. This is the spreadsheet that I was mentioning. So this is a local drawing that I'm going to do first. And there are 42 application numbers here that represent all of the households who have local preference in this lottery. So I'm copying and pasting all of those 42 application numbers, and I'm going to go back to random.org and plug them into the list randomizer to do the local preference drawing. So this is a local preference drawing for the residences at Hyannis Harbor, the local preference drawing. So there's 42 numbers here. I'm going to take those and put them into the spreadsheet just because it's going to be easier for everybody to see. Just give me a second here. I'll hide this one just so it doesn't confuse anybody. And those are the results for the local preference drawing. I'm going to come back to that after I do the general drawing. I'll find your lottery application number on both of these drawings if you have local preference. So I'm going to go back to random.org just to completely X out of that and go into list randomizer again so we can run the drawing for the general drawing. So this is everyone. There's 118 applications for the residences at Hyannis Harbor. So I'm taking all of those application numbers. This includes everyone who applied and was eligible for the lottery. And I'm going to plug those into a different list randomizer here because this is the general drawing for the affordable apartments at the residences at Hyannis Harbor. So I'm going to click randomize, and those are the results there. And again, these aren't the waiting list yet. I still need to sort the results onto the waiting list based off of priority, whether or not your household requires a disabled accessible unit, your household type, local preference, all that. So these are the results of the lottery, but not the waiting list quite yet. So I'm going to scroll down. There's 42 numbers here. This is a local drawing. If you want to see where your lottery application number was drawn, this first column here is the order it was drawn. So the first number drawn was 41, A.041, and I'm going to scroll down to the 42nd number. And like I said, if you weren't able to see your number and you want me to look it up, I can do that. This is the general drawing. So again, I'm going to number 43, A.043 was the first one drawn. And I'm going to scroll down. But like I said, we don't know, whether or not the first person drawn in this lottery applied for a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom. We don't know if they have local preference or what their household type is yet. So the results don't give you a whole lot of information right now. Generally, it's going to be better if your number is further up, further towards the top. But, if you're number 15, it could be that, 10 people ahead of you were all type 1 households. You never know. So your position might be a little more favorable than it looks, or it could actually be not quite as favorable as it looks, depending on what your household type and all of that is. All right, so I'm almost at the bottom here. If you didn't see your lottery application number and you want to know where you were drawn, so you have an idea of where what the result was for your lottery application number, let me know, and I will look that up now. All right, we have one here, A.115. So you were drawn 91st in the general drawing, and you were 15th on the local drawing. A.111, you were drawn 27th in the local drawing and 13th in the general drawing. Anyone else? Wasn't able to see theirs? Want me to look it up? And again, this unfortunately doesn't give you a whole lot of information now just because these aren't the waiting list yet, but at least you know if you're towards the top or the bottom of these results from the lottery tonight. Sure. Yep, 119. We'll look that up. Yep, you were 95th in the general drawing, not on the local list. Anyone else? So you'll get an email from info at SCB Housing tomorrow morning, and that'll be from me with the results, the waiting lists that have been sorted with the results of the lottery tonight. And it will also have more information on who applied and kind of the intro information that I gave you tonight in writing. And it'll give you information about next steps. If your lottery application number is highlighted in green on the waiting list when you get those, you're going to be invited to move forward to the lease screening process with the leasing office very soon. Because like I said, these units, if they're not available right now, will be very soon. So they'll be moving forward with the process right away. And if you have any questions on your placement on the waiting list after you see it, if you're confused about why you are where you are, if you're watching this after the fact and have any questions, please email us at info@scbhousing.com or give us a call and we can get back to you. So thanks for joining. We'll be in touch tomorrow morning, like I said, is when that email will go out to your email address. So look for an email from info@scbhousing.com. And thanks again. Have a good night.